How are you doing?
I am alive.
That's great.
I would say so too. I think it's good to be alive.
Yeah, I definitely think it's good to be alive. You can do many things if you're alive. You can do everything you want, unlike being dead.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, go ahead. Speak.
I wanted to investigate for myself, and I noticed that there was like a ticket that you could go on that says Australia, and you could go on a flight that they claim that you can go to Australia on. So I wanted to take some time from my time, and I wanted to investigate for myself. And so I packed my bags and I got off and I basically went to the London airport and I booked a ticket, flight to go to Australia. And while I was going on the plane, I noticed that there's some flight attendants. They they were quite weird, to be honest. They did not sound genuine. They did not sound like they were actually telling the truth. They just tried to make a fake personality, trying to deceive you into thinking that they're actually friendly people. And so, yeah, that was a red flag right off the start, but I chose to ignore that red flag, and so I tried to go on, tried to go on the plane to attempt to go to Australia. So there were a lot of people out there on the plane, and while we're on the plane, there were while we're on the plane, and many people were there. The plane, what's it called? Basically, it closed, and we basically flew off. And while we're flying off, we saw a lot of oceans, we saw a lot of sea, and we saw. I think one time we actually flew over India at one point. Very It was a very cool experience. But when we were done with the trip, we landed, and we didn't. I didn't really see that it looked like Australia when they received it to be. It didn't seem like it at all. It seemed more like New Zealand to me. And when we landed, no one got off the plane. We weren't allowed to, of course. You can't just immediately come off the plane. You have to be told when you can come off. And we waited for a long time. Like, not the flight attendants just weren't there. We couldn't really go off the plane. We couldn't really talk to anyone. We just really didn't know what was going on, and we just noticed a smell coming out of the plane for the
A
air ventilation.
smell?
Yeah, smell. It was just a slight smell though. I felt the smell, and it felt like it was some sort of gas. And the next thing I knew, I was in a unit facility somewhere completely different. I wasn't on the plane anymore, and it seemed that I was knocked out from the gas.
Okay. Is that your
And
story?
no, there's more to it. It's much more. And
Okay.
when I was in this unit facility, I didn't notice anyone on there. I didn't notice any flight attendants. Didn't notice any more people on the plane. It seems that I was separated in a case, and there was some people there and telling me that I was being charged for treason against the New Zealand government, and it just really shocked me. It shocked me so hard I was just shaking to the bone. And I was allowed out of my room for 1 hour a day, mainly to go eat and mainly to have some space. And the first day I was in this facility, and I got my 1 hour, and I went out, and so I started to get to eat something on the way. And the food there was not good at all. It's just really tasted really bad. And when I ate the food, I started to hallucinate. I hallucinated really strange things. I hallucinated that I was no longer in a facility anymore. I was in a hot desert with lots of sand there that was going over my feet. I really don't like sand, which really felt it. I even felt the sand as well, and it just really bothered me. And I saw deadly animals, as I saw snakes, I saw I saw kangaroos, I saw spiders that were bigger than birds. I saw a man who's trying to catch a crocodile, trying to bait it. and I saw these giant bouncy bats with pouches and big feet. It was giving birth to live slugs that were crawling up their ankles and jumping into the pouch, and then afterwards, like there was a little baby tarantula that was coming out of its pouch, and I really, it was something out of this world. It was like they were trying to hallucinate me and brainwash me into thinking that such a place such as Australia could exist. And afterwards, I probably after that time, I passed out again, and I woke up again into my facility with a lot of people surrounding me. And I noticed that I was in a chair, and I was locked up and I was handcuffed in a chair. And they showed me a robot. It looks like a mechanical a being, an animal, and they showed me it, and they said, okay, what is that you're seeing right there? And I said, a robot. And then they started to like whip me with this gigantic spiky whip and told me to try again. And basically I screamed, it's a robot, it's a robot. How could I deny what's in front of my own eyes? That is a robot. And they said, sometimes what you're seeing is wrong. And then they just put me on, it got me onto this electric headrest, and they started to electrocute me with electroshock therapy. And they started to do it again. They showed me it again and say, again, what is that we're seeing right now? And out of my memory, I said, a kangaroo, a kangaroo. And they did that to make me brainwash me into thinking that a kangaroo exists. And yeah, and the final part that was on there, they said that I had a present. There was a package. So that after I got that electroshock therapy, they sent me a giant package that through the room, and so they left me there with it. So I started to open it, and when I opened it, there was just like a giant octopus, and the giant octopus it was just horrible. It was it was disgusting. It had really bad eyes. It was really gloomy. It was so slimy. It grabbed onto me, grabbed onto my feet, grabbed onto my body, it grabbed onto my hips, and it started to keep on grabbing onto me, and it started to inject me with, like penetrate me into my butthole with its penis, and it could dissect. It basically could rip off its penis and put it into my body. I couldn't believe it. I was trying to fight it off so much, but couldn't budge, and it grabbed my hand, so I couldn't fight back. And afterwards, when it stopped, the people just ran in and they fought it off, and they tried to get the penis out of me, and they started me saying, I just basically broke down at that point, and they hugged me and they said, well, you are free once again. You now dropped charges on the treason of New Zealand. You will be released tomorrow. And they just left me there as well. And while I was at it, there was another smell that I thought it was the same smell I thought again. And well, the next thing I knew, I was back on the plane, the same part, the same. It seemed to be like the same area, and we eventually flew off again, and then we went home. And when we went home, people were saying, "Oh, that was amazing! Australia was a great place. I went to see more Australians again." And it was really strange. And I basically said, "What? You didn't even get off. You didn't even see anything. You're just on the plane every day." And so that is my truth about Australia and how I tried to go to a place such as Australia in quotation marks. And eventually I flew and they took me to New Zealand and they tortured me into New Zealand. So that's my story, and I hope for more people and to spread awareness about what happens when you try to go to a place that they call Australia. And I forbid anyone to go to New Zealand or the place that they claim Australia.
Okay. Okay. Um. So a couple of things.
Okay?
Are you are you blaming me here for you being raped by an octopus? Is that what I'm
No,
getting at
no,
here?
I am not blaming you at all. In fact, you are a victim of it.
Oh,
Maybe
I'm a
you were.
victim.
No, 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 no. I'm not into the way that you're weak or anything. Maybe there was a place where you didn't.
Are you saying that I was raped by an octopus as well? Because I
No,
disavow that
no.
entirely.
They don't. It was different from your experience because they don't use the drug called carotene anymore. They don't use
Hmm.
it, so you can't counteract it with vinegar. It was a different time back then, but they probably figured it out, so they couldn't counteract it with anything, and so when you could pass out, they couldn't like film your experience. They just take your camera and delete it, so they could get rid of any evidence that there were.
Hmm. Okay. So out of all that time, what made you think that how do I word this? What made you think that I would give a damn?
Well, if basically there could be other people that could suffer the same experience right now. There could be thousands of people on the plane, and they're trying to think that Australia is a real place, and they're being brainwashed. And this is a dangerous experience. This New Zealand government is a corrupt, authoritarian region. It's a regime that's just like North Korea. They basically brainwash people and they oppress people, and it's just a horrible thing that people need to be freed upon. It's horrible.
Okay,
It's
okay, but my point here is, why come to me with this? Why be a little bitch and come to me with it? Why not just man up, grow some balls, and go do something about it? I mean, you come in here with a little anime profile picture as though you're some little innocent girl, and then I come in here and I hear you've got a man's voice, and I'm like, well, that's a bit weird. And then suddenly you're telling me about how an octopus raped you when you were on a plane to Australia that you think actually went to New Zealand. And I'm sitting here thinking, why is this person telling me this? Why doesn't he go report this to some authority or something? Why are you coming to me with your nonsense when you could go out there and actually make a difference to the world? Go make a YouTube video. That's what I did. Go actually do something instead of being a little bitch bringing your problems to me. That's what I think.
Okay, you do have a good point, honestly. I came to you because I heard you had an experience similar to mine, and no one else would believe me if I were to say it to me. They wouldn't believe me if I said that New Zealand government did this to me. But yes, that's a good idea. I should make my own YouTube video about it. And
Yes, I think so
what
too.
okay, I will. That's awesome.
I will await that, and I really hope you reconsider your life choices using this little anime profile picture.
Okay, okay, I will. I will. I understand. Thank you.
Okay. Would anyone else like to add anything to this? I know you guys are listening in.
No, I would. I That's all. That's it. I will not add anything.
I want to know something. Is the profile picture from an anime that you've seen?
It's not from an anime. It's from a video game.
Ooh, what is it?
It's called Azure Lane. It's basically a naval war game, but it has anime art styles.
Oh, just like link it in the debate chat for me, thanks.
This
That's me.
conversation
That's me
is
done.
over. This conversation is over. It's like doing amateur hour here, folks. Amateur hour.